Home nothing. I'd like to try this thing just once. Come on, honey.
We'll show him a thing or three.
No one will agree completely with my ranking. All opinions are valid. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It would be great if, in the comments, you post your ranking 1 to 10, 1 being the best, and I will compile the viewers' choices. The criteria is based on the overall movie. You can find supporting videos of different levels of detail in the complete Fred and Ginger playlist. A link is at the end of this video. In their series, Ginger had higher billing than Fred, at least partially, in the first 2 movies, Flying Down to Rio and The Gay Divorcee, because she was the far more established movie star. If Ginger was to have higher billing in 2 movies based upon her contribution, it should have been Roberta and Carefree, because only in these 2 did they fully utilize Ginger's comedic skills, never more than in Carefree. Carefree was the shortest movie of them all, at 83 minutes, with the least amount of song and dance scenes, at 4. It had many of the components of other Fred and Ginger movies, a few very nice song and dance scenes, some good dramatic acting, the supporting cast adding some laughter. Unlike their other movies, this time Ginger chases Fred, at least at first, until, well, you'll see. Unlike anything they had ever done before, and, for that matter, unlike almost anything Ginger did in her long career, Ginger literally rampages through 3 over-the-top comedic scenes, and these are the highlights of the movie. Commentary about RKO studio leadership decisions and its effect on the Fred and Ginger series will be addressed in the Fred and Ginger documentary series. The 16th-month gap between releasing Shall We Dance and Carefree was their longest between movies. It received mixed reviews, some very positive. The song Change Partners was nominated Oscar Best Song and hit number 1 on the Billboard Top 100. This was the last song by Fred to hit the top 10. The Yam Dance is number 50 on the Drive-In Top 100 Movie Dances. Its gross revenue seems fine at over $1.7 million, but RKO claimed a $68,000 loss. Fred had been caught up in the infamous box office poison story in the second round, as he and so many other great stars were labeled as box office duds, again covered in the documentary. This hurts Fred's career, as he dropped off the top moneymaker poll, never to return, while Ginger dropped to 18th. Carefree was produced by Pandro S. Berman, directed by Mark Sandrich, songs by Irving Berlin, co-starring Ralph Bellamy, Luella Gear, Jack Carson, Clarence Kolb, and Franklin Pangborn. Bellamy is plastered because his fiancée, Ginger, has once again called off their engagement. He goes to Fred, his good friend and psychiatrist, for help. Ginger agrees to a session, but while waiting, accidentally hears the insulting predictions Fred recorded about her. Angry, she gives Fred a hard time and storms out. Bellamy invites Fred to the club. As he is practicing on the driving range, Ginger appears and flusters him. Fred shows off with a combination dancing and golfing routine to Since They Turned Loch Lomond into Swing. An interesting backstory, Fred performed this scene, impressively hitting all those balls, and the cameraman told him it was no good. He needed to line drive the hits so the balls can be seen taking off in the recording. He does just that in the final cut. When he finishes, Fred looks up triumphantly towards Ginger, but she is gone, obviously duly impressed. Fred and Ginger make peace over a bike ride. For dinner, Ginger eats dream-inducing foods suggested by Fred, rather stomach-turning combinations that leave everyone nauseous except Ginger. No way little Ginger could eat that much. Ginger dreams about Fred. Fred sings, "I used to be colorblind" to Ginger, and then they dance to it. Most of the dance is shown in slow motion and is very effective. The entire scene would have been much more effective if they did it in color, as was planned, but they did not follow through. Then, the kiss. The documentary series discusses why, up to this point, they never held each other passionately, nor kissed, but it was getting to be ridiculous. Ginger called herself the great unkissed leading lady. So Fred finally agreed, and the short kiss seems very long in slow motion. Over breakfast, Ginger tells Gear, her aunt, she is in love with the man she dreamed about. The next day in session, Ginger cannot tell Fred about her dream. He says their sessions are over if she cannot, and Ginger wants to be around Fred, so she makes up one ridiculous whopper of a dream. The deeper she buries herself in this story, making it up as she goes along, the more frantic she gets in the telling, until she is victim to a wild pack of vicious squirrels. This scene cannot be explained with images. You have to watch it to understand its genius. It is an over-the-top performance by a person knowing it is over the top, but totally on the fly. She has no time to think and just careens into greater absurdity, and with that, overacting to a hilarious degree. Fred is thrilled, thinks he has a textbook case of a tragically disturbed woman. She has everything wrong with her. Ginger finds out quick what she has done when Fred declares he is going to sedate her to talk to her unconscious mind. Once under, Fred tells Ginger to do whatever she wants, and she tries to kiss Fred. Fred leaves Ginger to rest. Gear calls Bellamy, telling him he has to get Ginger to her job. I know it's a comedy, and Bellamy is playing an unsympathetic character, but I feel for him when Ginger kisses him, calling him Fred, and then makes a face, saying, "Get away, Steve." Now starts the second, and to me the best, comedic sequence. Totally stoned and without inhibition, Ginger is a horror show of nasty little childish pranks. Bellamy gets her in a cab, but she goes out the other side and starts following a glass company truck, trying to find something to throw at it. Finally, she borrows an officer's baton, smashes the glass, and runs away. At her job, she is a mess, cannot follow the script, and insults the advertiser and his product on the air. Fred and Bellamy drag her out of there, make excuses to the policeman whose baton she borrowed, so she kicks the officer in his backside. Lucky for Ginger, their friend, Kolb, a judge, handles the case. Fred takes the blame. Kolb does not like Fred and warns he will hold Fred personally responsible in the future. At dinner that evening, Ginger tells Gear she loves Fred. Ginger asks Fred for the first dance, and when he refuses, beans the judge with the roll, demanding she get her way, but the song ends immediately. Ginger sings the yam for the audience. I do not like this song, but Ginger does as good as can be done singing it. Covered in the documentary, this is the second time Fred refused to sing a song by his good friend Berlin, so Ginger got it, her only song in the movie. I think it was a conspiracy between Fred, Berlin, and Berman to protect Ginger. She asks Fred to dance. He refuses, so she threatens him with the full plate this time. He relents. This is a nice, fun dance, as they lead the crowd around the building. It is best known for Fred launching Ginger over a series of tables around the room, a huge smile on her face. But I prefer the part on the side of the building. It is Drive-In's number 50 Top 100 Movie Dances. Ginger tries to tell Bellamy she loves Fred, but he cuts her off, thinking she is ready to marry him. Ginger dances with Fred to tell him she does not want to marry Steve because she loves Fred. The next session, Ginger is very troubled. Fred tells her it is common for a patient to mistake trust for love, and Ginger cries. Fred uses hypnosis on Ginger, putting in her mind she loves and will marry Bellamy, and he, Fred, needs to be shot down like a dog. Fred steps away to another room and argues with himself in the mirror that he loves Ginger and should reverse what he just did. I know it is just a comedy, but parts of the script bother me. Fred uses hypnosis to doom Ginger to a loveless marriage. His good friend comes to him for help, and he takes his girl. Fred is always a charming character, but this is creepy. When Fred had walked out of the room, saying, "I'll be right back," hypnotized Ginger did the same, and was off on her third rampage. She recklessly drives to the club. She meets up with Bellamy and Kolb skeet shooting and shoots the judge's target. I don't think they let Ginger, an excellent markswoman, take this shot, which is a shame. Then she shoots the judge's hat. Fred shows up, and Ginger chases Fred to shoot him down like a dog, terrorizing the entire place, until he snaps her out of it. Waiting for the judge, Bellamy tells Fred he and Ginger are getting married tomorrow. Fred tells Bellamy he needs to hypnotize Ginger to remove these thoughts he put into her brain, and that he loves Ginger and Ginger loves him. Furious, Bellamy gets the judge to issue an order of protection against Fred. Fred comes into the engagement party anyway, but Ginger wants no part of him. He dances with Gere and sings the Oscar-nominated Change Partners to Ginger as she dances with Bellamy. Fred and Carson play a prank on Bellamy with a phone call, so Fred can be alone with Ginger. She does not want to talk with Fred, so he puts her into a trance, and they perform a beautiful romantic dance to change partners. Ginger is totally under Fred's control, moving as he commands, making for some beautiful, if still a little creepy, imagery. Bellamy figures out the prank, and before Fred can take those ideas out of her head, Bellamy and the judge arrive. It's wedding time, and Fred is running out of time. Gere knows this marriage is wrong and tries to get Fred in to see Ginger. She opens a window for them, but they go in the wrong one. No time left. Fred has to knock out Ginger, but he cannot bring himself to do it. Bellamy charges in, swings at Fred and misses, and knocks Ginger out cold. Carson and Gere hold Bellamy down while Fred does his magic. The judge is knocked off his feet when Ginger comes out with Fred and a big black eye, and they live happily ever after. Please like and subscribe.